Hey guys, what's up? Nick Baker, and you're watching the Baptist Rebel, and thank you for tuning in to the Baptist Rebel Ministries, the Baptist Rebel podcast, and like what I said before, I'm Nick Baker from the Baptist Rebel Ministries. Yesterday I gave my testimony. I really appreciate you guys for watching and listening to me yesterday and give my testimony. Read my own handwriting was a bit hard. But it is but his ministry is a bit tough. Big Satan likes to have a heyday with you and caused a lot of trouble. But yesterday I had a great time giving my testimony. I try not to shed some tears, but it's hard when you are going through some health issues, going through tough times for the past 7 years, in and out of the hospital. And the doctors can't figure out what's going on with you. But yesterday's sermon, Healed by the Blood, was, I pray that Healed by the Blood was a blessing to you. Not that I was a bit frustrated because I couldn't read my own handwriting. Because but knowing that we're going through some health issues, because nobody heard of May Thurner syndrome before. And it's a very rare disorder. And when your arteries are clogged, there's no blood flow going back up to the heart because the veins is being crushed. There's a backup, so to say, because when your pipes are clogged, there's no water flow, and that's the example I used was the sewer. Because I want to read that verse from Matthew chapter 8, and I think it's important to know the purpose of yesterday's testimony. Let's go to Matthew in chapter 8. Because I read this to the congregation when I got back from my procedure. I was out of church for a couple weeks because of the blood clot. The procedure, the doctor didn't want me going anywhere. Now I want to read a verse in Matthew chapter 8. Look at verse 8. It says right here, centurion answered and said, Lord, what's the centurion? A Roman soldier. The Roman soldier came to Jesus and told him that his servant was sick. And he tells Jesus, I'm not worthy that thou shouldest come under my roof, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. And that verse was placed in my heart when I had my procedure done. I had a 60% blockage. It could have been worse if I didn't get that taken care of. But let's read the whole chapter here, because it's important to read it in context on what's going on here. Starting at verse 1. When he was come down from the mountain, great multitudes followed him. And behold, there came a leper and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. And Jesus put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will be thou clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleaned. And Jesus saith unto him, See thou tell no man, but go thy way, show thyself to the priest, and offer the gift of that Moses commanded, for a testimony unto them. Verse 5. And when Jesus entered Capernaum, there came unto him a certain beseeching him, a centurion beseeching him, saying, Lord, my servant lieth at home, sick of the palsy, grievously tormented. And Jesus saith unto him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that thou shouldest come under my roof, and speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me, and I say to this man, Go, and he goeth, and to another, Come, and he cometh, and to my servant, Do this, and he doeth it. When Jesus heard it, he marveled, and said to them that followed, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. Listen to this, he's calling them out. He's calling out his own people. And I say unto you, that many shall come from the east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast out into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And Jesus said unto the centurion, Go thy way, and as thou hast believed, shall it be done unto thee. And his servant was healed in the selfsame hour. And when Jesus was come into Peter's house, he saw his wife's mother laid and sick of a fever, and he touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she arose and ministered unto them. When the even was come, they brought unto him many that were beset with devils. The modern translations call it demons. And he cast out the spirits with his word, and healed all that were sick. And it might be fulfilled, what will be fulfilled? The Old Testament scriptures, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying himself took our infirmities and bare our sicknesses. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 53, verses 4 and 5. Holy place right there in Matthew 8. Let's read what Isaiah says. Isaiah 53. Verses 4 and 5. Surely he had borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquity. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. This verse is taken out of context many times by Pentecostals. Pentecostals say, by his stripes we are healed. And they think that we are healed physically. No, it's not physical healing. It's spiritual healing. And these charismatics take it out of context, saying, if you have faith in his stripes where you're healed. Benny Hinn says it all the time. That's not true. Benny Johnson says it. Andrew Womack says it. They take this verse out of context, and that's not how it should be. Verse 18 says this. Now when Jesus saw great multitudes about him, he gave commandment to depart unto the other side. And a certain scribe came and said unto him, Master, I will follow thee whithersoever thou goest. And Jesus said unto him, the foxes have holes, but the birds of the air have nests. But the Son of Man hath not where to lay his head. And another of his disciples said unto him, Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father. But Jesus said unto him, Follow me, and let the dead bury their dead. Meaning the false prophets. And he's calling out the the Pharisees. Luke 9, 57 and 57 to 62. Let's take a look at that real quick. 51 and 57 and 62. Don't know why I keep saying 52. Where was I? Yep, Luke 9, 57 and 62. It says right here, and it came to pass that as they went in the way, a certain man said unto him, Lord, I will follow thee whithersoever thou goest. And Jesus said unto him, Foxes have holes, and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man hath not where to lay his head. And he said unto another, Follow me. And he said, Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father. Jesus said unto him, Let the dead bury their dead, but go thou and preach the kingdom of God. And another also said, Lord, I will follow thee, but let me first go bid them farewell, which are at home at my house. And Jesus said unto him, No man hath put his hand to the plow, and looking back is fit for the kingdom of God. That's a powerful verse right there. And it says right there in verse 23, And when he was entered into his ship, his disciples followed him. And behold, there arose a great tempest in the sea, in so much that the ship was covered with the waves, but he was asleep. This is another verse that's taken out of context. And Creflo Dollar loves this verse, and he loves taking this verse out of context. The little g gods. And Creflo Dollar says if Jesus was God, he wouldn't be sleeping because God does not slumber. That's a lie from the pits of hell. Jesus was fully God and fully man, and he was exhausted. And his disciples, verse 25, came to him and woke him, saying, Lord, save us, we perish. And he saith unto them, Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith? And he rose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. Verse 27. But when the men marveled, saying, What manner of man is this, that even the winds and the waves obey him? Let's look at two passages. Let's look at Mark 4, verses 35 and 41, and Luke 8, 22 and 25. That's hold your place there. Now I want to read this. Mark 4, 35 and 41. Listen, and it says right here in Mark 4, 35 and 41. Starting at verse 35. And the same day, when even was come, he saith unto them, Let us pass over the other side. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in a ship. And there were also with him another little ships. And there arose a great storm and wind, and the waves beat into the ship, so that it was now full. And he was in the hinder part of the ship asleep on a pillow. And they awake him, and say unto him, Master, carest thou not that we perish? And he rose and rebuked the wind, and said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said unto them, Why are ye so fearful? How is it that ye have no faith? And they feared exceedingly, and said one to another, What manner of man is this, that even the wind and the seas obey him? Let's look at Luke 8:26 and 37. Luke 8:36 and 37. 26 and 37. It says right here. Matthew 8. It's 27. Chapter 8. 36 and yep, 26 and 37. It says, verse 26. And they arrived at the country of the Cardarenses, which is over against Galilee. And when he went forth to land, there met him out of the city a certain man, which had devils a long time, and wore no clothes, neither abode in any house, but in the tombs. And when he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell down before him, and with a loud voice said, What have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of God Most High? I beseech thee, torment me not. For he had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man, for oftentimes it had caught him. And when he was kept bound with chains and fetters, and he brake the bands and was driven of the devil into the wilderness. And Jesus asked him, saying, What is thy name? And he said, Legion, because many devils were entered into him. And they besought him that he would not command them to go out into the deep. And there was there an herd of many swine feeding on the mountain, and they besought him, and they would suffer them to enter into them, and he suffered them. Then went the devils out of the man, and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down a steep place into the lake, and were choked. And they that fed them saw what was done. They fled and went and told it in the city and in the country. Then they went out to see what was done, and came to Jesus and found the man out of whom the devils were departed, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed, and in his right hand, in his right mind, not right hand, right mind, and they were afraid. And verse 36 says this: They also saw, which saw it told them by what means he that was possessed with devils was healed. Then the whole multitude of the country of the Gadarenes round about besought him and depart from them, and they were taken with a great fear, and went up into the ship, and returned back again. Now the man out of whom the devils were departed besought him, and Jesus sent him away, saying, Return to thine own house, and show how great things God hath done unto thee. And he went his way, and published throughout the whole city how great things Jesus had done unto him. And it came to pass that when Jesus was returned, the people gladly received him, for they were waiting for him. But I just read past what I just read before, and that's look at 8 and 22 and 25. That's what I meant to read. Because I read Mark 22 and 25. That's what I meant. It says, Now it came to pass on a certain day that he went into a ship with his disciples, and he said unto them, Let us go over onto the other side of the lake. And they launched forth. But as they sailed, he fell asleep. And there came down a storm of wind on the lake, and they were filled with great. filled with water, and they were in jeopardy. And they came to him and awoke him, saying, Master, Master, we perish. Then he rose and rebuked the wind and the raging of the water, and they ceased. And there was a calm. And when he said unto them, Where is your faith? And they, being afraid, wondered, saying one to another, What manner of man is this? For he cometh even the winds and water, and they obey him. They were greatly fearful of Jesus. And they were like, Who's this man? That the wind and the seas, they obey him. Because Jesus was fully man and fully God. And he's doing the same thing for you. And now continue on, finishing chapter 8 of Matthew, verse 28. It says right here, because I already read the verses of the demoniac, but I'm going to read it again in Matthew 5. It says, and when he was come, to the other side, into the country of the Genesis, there met him two possessed with devils, coming out of the tombs, exceeding fierce, so that no man might pass by that way. And behold, they cried out, saying, What have we to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of God? Art thou come hither to torment us before the time? And there was a good way off from them an herd of many swine feeding, and the devils besought him, saying, If thou cast us out, suffer us to go away into the herd of swine. And he said unto them, Go. And when they were come out, they went into the herd of swine, and behold, the whole herd of swine ran violently down a steep place into the sea, and perished in the waters. And they that kept them fled, and went their ways into the city, and told everything and what was befallen to the possessed of the devils. And behold, the whole city came out to meet Jesus. And when they saw him, they besought him, and he would depart out of their coast. Let's look at Mark chapter 5 and verse 1 and 17, and Luke 8, 26 and 37. This is important to take a look at, because because I know that you guys are scared right now on what's going on and why things are happening. Let's look at chapter 5, starting at verse 1 of Mark. Chapter 5, verse 1 and 17. It says, "And I came over onto the other side of the sea, and to the country of the Gadarenes. And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tomb a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tomb, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because that he had been often bound with fetters, not feathers, but fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters, not feathers, broken in pieces. Neither could any man tame him. Always night and day, he was in the mountains and in tombs crying and cutting himself with stones. But when he saw Jesus afar off, he ran and worshipped him, and cried with a loud voice, and said, What have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of the Most High God? I adjure thee by God, that thou torment me not. For he said unto him, Come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. And he asked him, What is thy name? And he answered, saying, My name is Legion, for we are many. And he besought him such that he would not send them away out of the country. And now there was the nigh unto the mountains, and a great herd of swine feeding. And all the devils besought him, saying, Send us into the swine, that we may enter into them. And for which Jesus gave them leave. And the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. They were about 2,000 and were choked in the sea. And they that fed the swine fled and told it in the city and is the country and in the country, and they went out to see what it was that was done, and that they came to Jesus to see him that was possessed with the devil and had the legion sitting and clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. And they went, and they then saw it and told him how it befell to him that was possessed with the devil, and also concerning the swine. And they were to pray him to depart out of their coast. And when he was come into the ship, he that had been possessed with the devil prayed him, and that he might be with him. Howbeit Jesus suffered him not, but said unto him, Go home to thy friends, and tell them how great the Lord hath done for thee, and hath had compassion on thee. And he departed and began to publish in this pluses the pluses how great things Jesus had done for him, and all men did marvel. Jesus Jesus right there, right there, the Jews wanted to kill him. But it wasn't his time. That was the first time they wanted to kill him. The second time was in the temple, when he said, I am he. Before Moses was, I am he. Let's look at Luke 8:26. Luke chapter 8. And I'm going to title this sermon, Spiritual Warfare. Let's look at 26 and 37. 26 and 37. And it says right here. Luke 8, 26 and 37. It says, and they arrived at the country of the Gadarenes, or Gadarenes, which is over against Galilee. And when he went forth to land, there met him out of the city a certain man, which had devils long time, and wore no clothes, neither abode in any house, but in the tombs. And when he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell before him, and with a loud voice he said, What have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of God Most High? I beseech thee, torment me not. And for he had commanded the unclean spirits to come out of the man. For oftentimes it had caught him, and he was kept bound with chains and fetters, and he broke the bands and was driven of the devils into the wilderness. And Jesus asked him, saying, What is thy name? And he said, Legion, because many devils were entered into him. And they besought him that he would not command them to go out into the deep. And there was there an herd of many swine feeding on the mountain. And they besought him, and that he would suffer them to enter into them. And he suffered them. Then they went, the devils, out of the man, and entered into swine, and the herd ran violently down the steep place into the lake, and were choked. When they that fed them saw what was done, they fled, and went and told it to the city, told it in the city and the country. Then they went out to see what was done, and came to Jesus and found the man out of whom the devils were departed, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. They also, which saw it, told him by what means he that was possessed with the devils was healed. Then the whole multitude of the country of the Gadarenes round about besought him and departed from them, for they were taken with great fear. And he went out to the ship and returned back again. This is a beautiful story right here. And this is, the title is called Healed by the Blood of Christ. And because this man was healed from demon possession. Satan wants to destroy you, but you are healed by the blood of Christ. You are blood bought and sealed by the blood of Christ. And Luckman says in the verses I read, his notes, let's look at, I want to close with one more verse. Good thing there's a reference Bible. Let's look at Luke 6 and Luke 6:19 and Luke 7:50. Luke 6:19 and chapter 7 verse 50. Says, and a whole multitude sought to touch him, and there went virtue out of him and healed them all. Let's look at chapter 7 verse 50. Chapter 7 verse 50. And he said to that woman, thy faith has saved thee, and go in peace. The woman, because this woman was accused by the Jews, because the Jews wanted to kill Jesus. Actually, that's not it. This is the woman was kissing Jesus' feet. And I want to read this in context. Starting at verse 36. It says right here, and one of the Pharisees desired him, that he would eat with them. And he went into the Pharisee's house and sat down to meat. And behold, a woman in the city, which was a sinner, when she knew that Jesus sat at meat in the Pharisee's house, brought an alabaster box of ointment and stood at his feet behind him, weeping, and began to wash his feet with tears, and did wipe them with the hair of her head, and kissed his feet, and anointed them with the ointment. Now when the Pharisee which had bidden him saw it, he spake within himself, saying, This man, if he were a prophet, would have known who and what manner of woman this is that toucheth him, for she's a sinner. And Jesus answering said unto him, Simon, I have somewhat to say unto thee. And he saith, Master, say on. There was a certain creditor which had two debtors. The one owed 500 pence, and the other 50. And when they had nothing to pay, he frankly forgave them both. Tell me, therefore, which of them will love him most? Simon answered and said, I suppose that he, to whom he forgave most. And he said unto him, Thou hast rightly judged. And he turned to the woman, and said unto Simon, Seest thou this woman? I entered into thine house. Thou gavest me no water for my feet, but she hath washed my feet with tears, and wiped them with the hairs of her head. Thou gavest me no kiss, but this woman since the time I came in hath not ceased to kiss my feet. My head with oil thou didst not anoint, but this woman hath anointed my feet with ointment. Wherefore I say unto thee, her sins, which are many, are forgiven, for she loved much. To whom little is forgiven, the same loveth little. And he said unto her, Thy sins are forgiven. And they that sat at meat with him began to say within themselves, Who is that forgiveth sins also? And he said to the woman, Thy faith hath saved thee. Go in peace. Have you been saved today or this week? I ask that you will put faith and trust in Jesus. I pray that you put faith and trust in the blood of Christ, because I don't know what you're going through right now. I don't know if you are mad at God. I don't know if you are struggling with addiction. I don't know if you're struggling with depression. I don't know if you're struggling with anger and bitterness towards people. Because if you do have a grudge against somebody, I pray that you will turn to God and ask Jesus to forgive you. I'm going verse by verse right now, because this is important to understand what Jesus is doing and why Jesus died on the cross for your sins. Daughter, thy faith hath saved thee. Go in peace. Jesus is saying that to you too. Let this verse pop off the pages. Let this verse speak to you. Memorize it. Memorize it. Memorize what is being said here. Because it's never too late. It's not too late. Come to Jesus before it's everlasting too late. I want to close with one more. One more verse. Because this is important. Let's go up to the book of James and see what James says about anger. James chapter 3. James chapter 3. And I'm going to read the whole chapter. Because this is important. My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that you shall receive the greater condemnation. For in many things we all offend all. If any man offered not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body. Bridle is what cowboys do with horses. They put a bridle on them to tame them. And this is what James says in verse 3. Behold, we put bits in the horse's mouth, that they may obey us. And we turn about their whole body. Behold, also the ships, which though that be so great, and are driven of fierce wind, Yet they turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeth. Even so the tongue is little member, and boasteth great things. Behold, the great matter, a little fire kindleth. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, and it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and is set on fire of hell. For every kind of beast, and birds, and of serpents, and of things in the sea is tamed, and hath been tamed of mankind. But the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. Therewith bless we God, even the Father, and therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of God. Out of the same mouth proceedeth blessings and cursings. My brethren, these things ought to not so to be. Doth a fountain send forth the same at the same place sweet water and bitter? Can a fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries, and either a vine figs? So can no fountain both yield salt water and fresh. Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom. But if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descendeth not from above, but the earthly, sensual, devilish. For where envying and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, with partiality and without hypocrisy. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. Buckman says about verse 41, about in 4 verse 1. The source of all wars is not economic system. Karl Marx. Segregation. Nelson Mandela. Isolationism. FDR. Nationalism. Mayo Tse patriotism, JFK. Ignorance of lack of education. It is man's basic Adamic nature. Let's look at James 1:26, and I'm gonna close. If any man among seem to be religious, and bridleth not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man's religion is vain. That's read one more verse 27. Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and the widows in their afflictions, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. I pray that you will come to understanding what James is saying in those two verses I just read. Let's see what Paul says about anger, because this is important to understand about anger. I do admit that I struggle with anger myself, but it's hard to keep your mouth shut. It's hard to not say a word. Here we go. Because what I'm about to read here, what Paul says, criticism, that's not what I wanted. The moon. Alright. Man, I'm running out of time here. Because I'm going to close with this. Beer. Booth. Darling. It's not what I wanted. Let's see. Bix Buckman has a lot to say here. It is well. speak for itself. Not but truth many times. Racing term. Because this is important. Let's look at I want to look at what Paul says here about being angry. Because this is important to keep in mind. And I'm going to close with slow to anger, quick to speak. Because there's a lot of people that are just plain bitter. But I want to close. For some reason, I can't find what I wanted in Romans. But proper judgment. Well, I guess I'm gonna read that. I'm gonna read because for some reason I can't find what I'm looking for. Alright. Dare any of you have a matter against another, go to law before the unjust, and not before the saints. Do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, are ye unworthy to judge the smallest matters? Know ye not that we shall judge angels? How much more things that pertain to this life? If then ye have judged, and if ye have judgment of things pertaining to this life, set them to judge whom are least esteemed in the church. I speak to your shame. It is so that there is not one that should be able to judge between his brethren, but brother goeth to law with brother, and that before the unbelievers. Now therefore there is utterly a fault among you, because ye go to law one with another. Why do ye not take wrong? Why ye not rather take wrong? Why ye not rather suffer yourselves to be defrauded? Nay, ye do wrong and defraud, and that your brethren. I hope and pray that this is a blessing to you, because whatever you're about to do, I just pray that you will change your mind and forgive, because what you're doing is wrong. It's not of God. It's of the enemy himself. It's the devil. And the devil wants you to curse people. He wants you to run your mouth about other people. If you are that kind of person, you're not a Christian. You're not saved. A Christian does not badmouth other people. A Christian loves people. A Christian talks to people. But he will not badmouth other people. Let's close out in prayer. Father, I thank you for those that are watching this. I pray, Lord, that there's no bitterness, and that if there is any bitterness, I pray, Lord, that you would remove it and put forgiveness on our hearts. And I thank you, Jesus, for forgiveness. Thank you for your shed blood on the cross, Lord. And I pray, Lord, that whoever is angry with one another would come across this sermon, come across this video, and to turn their hearts to you. And it's in your name. Amen. God bless you, and thanks for watching.